Greetings and welcome, employees of the Honorable East India Company, to another, well, not Let's Play specifically. This is a Let's Have a Look At, more or less. Welcome to Let's Have a Look at Return of the Obra Dinn, a game created by Lucas Pope and set of Papers, Please fame, and, well, he's done it again, I suppose. Made another outstanding little bit of game, to put it mildly. The Return of the Obra Dinn is a deductive reasoning, deductive puzzle game of sorts. As the story goes, the Obra Dinn was lost at some point and somehow mysteriously returned offshore close to the port where it was supposed to land. Return to. You, a officer of the Honorable East India Company, is sent to estimate the damages to the ship, because it was noted that the sails were damaged, and to figure out what happened to the crew, as there appeared to be no one on board. And I really like this game. I really do. But there's a slight problem, in that this is a game you can really only play once for shock factor. Now, if any of you have already been interested in playing this game, please stop watching now. Just buy the game whenever it's on sale, or whenever you feel you have too much money in your wallet anyways, and play it for yourself, and don't watch me unless you're really not convinced just yet if it's worth your time. If you have no intention of ever playing this game, well, feel free to keep watching, but I will not be playing the entire game, because I feel that would be a little bit of a waste since it's only recently come out. Say if it were a little bit over a year later, I might be convinced to play it again to the end. But part of this game really is best played blind, because certain events that you find out are more amusing when you find out about them in the first time. Also because I know certain solutions, it wouldn't be very fun perhaps. Anyways, so I will just be playing for a short bit. So let's begin. Oh, and by the way, for any of you that feel like, ooh, it's fun to spoil the game for me, you can't spoil the game for me. Like I said, I finished the game. 60 fates solved. Nothing else to do. So please do not post any spoilers in the chat below. If you do, I will remove them, because I don't feel you should be coming to this place to be spoiled on this. Let's begin. Come. Lost at sea at 1803, the good ship Obra Dinn. Built in 1796 in London, 800 tons, 18 feet draft. Captain R. Witterell, crew of 51 men, last voyage to the Orient, Cape Rendezvous, you unmet. Contact East India Company, London office for enquiries or testimony. Alright. Attention, Chief Inspector, Insurance and Claims London Office. The Obra Dinn has returned. Dispatch to Falmouth immediately and prepare for full assessment. Alright, Falmouth, England. Let's go.
Company man woke me up. Said you'd need ferry to the Obra Dinn. Not many eager for that job. Seems a bit late if you ask.
I didn't.
What's in the box?
I don't know. I'll hoist it up in a few minutes.
Hey! How?
Carefully.
Alright, a slightly different then. The inspector that I was playing as before was female. Alright, let's climb aboard. Ta-da! I do like this graphic style. It's very uniquely minimalist, but still somewhat impressive. Now take a good look, because you'll be getting to know this ship quite well by the end. And here I think we found one of the crew. Locked. All right.
Oi! It's too heavy! It's too heavy. Take it yourself or open it here.
All right, let's open it. And here's our two tools that we will need for this adventure. This book. Which is basically a catalogue of adventure and tragedy. I trust that you find yourself aboard the Obra Dinn. I expected this day to come, and my every intention was to tell the ship's strange tale within the pages of this book. Regrettably, failing health has allowed me to produce only the basic outline that follows. Your presence on the Obra Dinn is critical. I leave the discovery of its fate and the completion of this book in your hands. The next few pages will seem bewildering at first. All will make sense in time. Use the pocket watch to determine the identity and fate of everyone on board. Complete each chapter accurately and return the book by guaranteed post to the French Office of Affairs in Morocco. The bargain chapter will remain unknown to you. I possess the details within, but have elected to keep them private for now. Henry Evans. Alright, so we have the contents of the book. 10 chapters, which we will be going over, but let's see. So this is basically the trip that the ship was going to make all the way down to the Cape, but it clearly did not get that far. The ship itself, which we will need to figure out where everything is. We are currently on the top deck, or the main deck. The entire crew manifest. 60 people. 51 crew and some passengers. And some drawings of the entire crew. Now you may notice that some of these faces are still obscured. That's because we haven't figured out their identity just yet. That's not important as well. We can clearly see also that some manner of injustice happened at sea. And for the rest part we just have basically the chapters, so we'll just flip through them. The bargain we cannot figure out because Henry Evans has locked that for us. The escape and the end. Then we have a glossary where we can go over whatever any of the terms mean, which is nice. Because I certainly wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a midshipman and a topman or a seaman. And here's our counter. Essentially, this will give notice of how many fates have been resolved. With the exception of the last 3, which we cannot resolve until we have resolved the rest. Logically speaking, but that's because they're in the bargain chapter. Alright, let's just close the book and pick up our second instrument. The Memento Mortem. Remember death. Alright, let's get back on board. Now, It is, of course, the goal to complete the entire book and all that. But you don't have to. If you completely lost where you need to go, or you can't figure out anything else, you can just go back down to the ship, to the longboat, and he will take you to shore after a period of time has passed. You will not get a complete game, of course, but, you know, I was curious what was going to happen if he just sat back down in the boat. Fortunately, you can always rewind. But in any case, let's solve this. Alright. 10:05.
Captain! Open the door! Kick it in. Ah! Lest we break it down and take more than those shells!
You bastards may take exactly what I give you!
Right then. So here we have a fellow being struck by the bullet that is careening off into over here. Alright, so here we see the moment of death, and we also heard the few seconds leading up to that death. Now this strapping fellow here, I think, is probably the captain. Who this guy is, we don't know. Neither do we know who this guy is, nor do we know who this guy is. Alright, so this is basically just the introduction to the events. We get to have a look around, see if we see anything interesting, and then it fades to black. Because the game will now give us a tutorial. In the end. So somewhere between the Azores and Madeira, it all came to a grisly end. Alright, so we need to figure out who this guy is and how he died. Well, he was shot by a gun by the captain, because that's pretty much who he was. We close the book. Alright, now you just heard a sound. That's the door. That's a door opening because we have accessed this particular memory. Now, we don't know who this guy is, so we can't really do anything about him. But if I zoom in on this and then open the book, I can flip to the directly to the sketch. So let's do that again. To this guy. So he's probably pretty high up, given the fancy hat. Now, you know, his face is blurred because we have no idea who he is just yet. But this guy, we do know who he is. Yep, he can now be identified. Use the book and the pocket watch to gather enough information to deduce their identity. Revisit memories on the ship using the pocket watch to study relationships, appearances, and activities. Use the book maps, crew manifest, and artist sketches, along with individual conversation logs to find clues about. There were 60 people on the ship when it left England. Determining everyone's identity and fate will not be easy. Decisive information is rare, yes. You will have to make assumptions using partial information. Some identities may only be revealed through a process of elimination. Good luck. Well, this one is easy, given by this triangle symbol. Difficult people have usually 3. But this is the captain. Alright, I still don't know who this guy is. And we can't get past the captain to see what's inside, so we'll just leave the memory through the door. Now, we can always revisit a scene whenever we find the corpse again. You do have to keep finding the corpse again to go back to a memory if you need it, but in this case I don't think it's needed. Alright, no one in here. Also, this door is now opened because of the memory, which is I guess why it's so blurry. Alright, let's find out when this guy died. 10 past 10.
Where are they? Must be in here someplace.
They're at the bottom of the sea.
That's a lie.
Alright. So the captain managed to get a knife while he was being stabbed by that spear. Still don't know who this guy is. Well, that gun is spent by the looks of it. We still have this guy dead on the floor. But where's the other guy that went up? Well, I can't see him. He didn't go jump through this top thing. I guess he must be somewhere inside the cabin. Now, I guess we'll just have to find that out when we get back to the memory. Alright, so that's next page. Inside the captain's quarters. Now, we still don't know who this guy is, but he was stabbed. Where's the stabbed? Knifed by the captain. I would add in self-defense, but you know, the game doesn't require that. Although, in some instances you can be a little bit different in your descriptions and the game will still count it as correct. Another door has just opened. Alright, now the other guy is over here. Again, I know where everything is because I've played the game. Well, I know where most things are. Some things I've probably already forgotten, but overall I do think I can figure out things quite quickly if I were to try again. Now, this guy. He died 5 minutes later. Well, how convenient. Well, the captain certainly is a very, very potent fighter. Alright, so... Can't say anything with certainty about it yet. He's dying or dead. Well, he's probably dead. After all, the memento mortem gives the moment of death, not the moment that they're still dying. We also have this particular woman. Who is she? Now that this door is open. Alright. It can sometimes be a little bit tedious when you have to wait until the music stops before you can move on to the next thing. There's no way to skip that. But there we go. I mean, overall I do like the music and all, but there's a lot of corpses to investigate, so this can usually take at least some time. Right, how did they die? He was, well, clubbed by the captain. And another door has opened. So let's go and see what that door is all about. So you can see that there's already tantalizing information that doesn't really reveal too much because we currently have 3 people that we cannot identify. And this poor bastard. he died 5 minutes later.
Abigail, your brother, my friend. I shot him dead. I'll be with you soon, my love. Please forgive me for everything.
And so the captain decided to off himself. Poor man. Alright, so we do have a name for her now. She is Abigail. There's only one Abigail, and that's Abigail Hoskat Witterell, which makes her the wife of the captain. Now, there was also this man that was now identified as her brother, which would be William Hoskat, the first mate. This may or may not be correct. Fates are validated in sets of 3. Correctly identify at least 3 people in their fates to have the information typeset into the book. So there's always a bit of doubt whether or not you solve things correctly. Alright, that's pretty much all we can do right now. Except for this one, of course. Well, we can't do that here. Because I can't. I need to get the chapter set, so let's just walk around. Quite gruesome how they all died. Chopped by the spear, throat slit, shot himself. How did she die? That's indeed a very good mystery. How did she die? Well, the captain. Suicide by gun? Again, we won't know for certain if that's correct. Although, of course we know it's correct, because we just seen it here. This one is that's probably the most easiest to solve. Now, we are running out of the time I've set aside for this particular thing, but I will finish at least getting that woman Abigail's fate figured out. Alright, so 4 deaths, no mysteries about anyone missing. Abigail, you've seen better days. You died early in the night. And this is the mystery that enticed me into figuring out what the hell happened in this game. With waves crashing over and giant tentacles grabbing at the crew, with people torn in half. But we now have another name we can add to the register, because there was only one Martin in the fancy hat. And we now know what happened to Abigail. Smashed by the rigging with the tentacles. Right. There's lots of people around to see it. So a little bit before the end, which makes sense. The corpse was moved. Yes, indeed, it was. Right, she was clubbed by a beast. Correct. But the mystery doesn't end quite there, because there's a corpse in this scene that we of course could not find on the ship because wasn't visible, and it's this guy. Luckily, the watch provides. Follow the trail. You do have to keep an eye on the trail, otherwise it will not move. So this is where that guy lies. But that's where I will leave this particular look at the return to the Obra Dinn, of the Obra Dinn. Because, like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anyone else any further than I've already spoiled. I've already given 3 solutions. And the rest, well, if you're interested in it, I welcome you to find out yourself. Maybe we'll play again in a year's time, but I've mostly forgotten whatever was happening. But until that time, good luck in your investigation. See you next time.